Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for another edition of At the Table. As we see our businesses snap back from multiple shutdowns and capacity restrictions, one must wonder how to create new ways of capturing additional revenue to try to recoup some of the lost earnings our industry has been hit with. We reached out to a few of our industry experts for their thoughts on this topic, and we are lucky to have them here with us today to share with their unique insights. But before we get into it any further, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Kyle Brandt. I'm a culinary specialist for Cisco, Ontario South. My team, Business Resources, is part of a bigger team in Cisco, Canada. Business Resources provides services such as culinary consultations, menu analysis, and menu design, just to name a few. If you require any consultations, please feel free to reach out to your business resource team in your region. All right, so let's get down to business. I'd like to introduce my co-host for today, Mike Nussey, who is our category growth specialist. Mike has been with Cisco for 7 years and has had great experience in the field. So Mike can tell us what he's seeing out there and what customers are looking for. How's it going, Mike?
Great, Kyle. Thanks for having me on the show. Can't wait to have some great discussion around additional revenue streams. But first, let me introduce our panel of experts. First up, we have Jeanette McFarland. Jeanette has nearly 30 years of experience in the industry. She spent 15 years in operations at a national chain and has spent the last 10 years with Magnum food brokers, representing some of the most well-known brands in our industry. Jeanette seems to spend a lot of her spare time on her own SVK network, so it's great to have her here today.
Great to be here.
Next up, we have two amazing resources from McCormack Bourrie. First, Chef Graham Hayes. He's the Director of Culinary for McCormack Bourrie Sales, one of our broker partners. He has a well-rounded background with previous experience at Hockley Valley Resort and Whalers Wharf before he settled into his career at Service-Inspired Restaurants, or Surcorp, managing all aspects of Heart of House, with 10 years as Executive Chef for Canyon Creek and for another 5 years as Director of Culinary for Jack Astor's. Chef Hayes' approachable nature to keep it simple philosophy allows him to work with a host of different types of operators to build unique menus that are traffic building and profit enhancing while keeping them uncomplicated to prepare. Thanks for joining us today, Chef.
Thanks for having me.
And also we have Amy Smith. She's also joining us from McCormack Bourrie. Amy has over 15 years experience in the food service industry, the last 10 of which she has spent managing operator partnerships across the GTA and providing resources and support to Cisco, its sales team, and their mutual customers. She enjoys the diversity of working for a broker and the ability to constantly bring new ideas and on-trend products to the table. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks for having me.
We're very fortunate that our next guest was able to join us today. Shane Harrison is the Director of Food and Beverage at Grove Brewing Company in Kingsville, Ontario. Prior to his current role as director, Shane spent time as a head chef, sous chef, and manager overall 20 plus years in the hospitality industry. If you're in the Kingsville area, pop in for a pint. My personal favorite is the Paradise Lager, which this isn't even an infomercial. I had this in my fridge already. Shane, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I think I can say that we have all seen our industry turned upside down and sideways over the last 2 years. We've all had thoughts of how are we going to survive. Some have been able to continue with that business as usual model, but a lot have had to re-envision their concept. What are some options for business owners to look at that would be quick to set up and get up and running? And what types of unique additional revenue streams have each of you come across? Let's start off with Jeanette.
Thanks, Kyle. Oh gosh, it's where do you start? And I think that's the reality that everyone feels right now is where do we start? The new norm is just that. We're going to have to figure it all out all over again. So I think for me, one of the biggest areas to suggest looking at is day part sales. Look at the downtime. That's all new now. Consider developing that midday menu. Look at the success of all day breakfast. I mean, that's an example of something that we can all adapt and carry those menu items through to different parts of the day, perhaps, that we didn't do before. With the ease of digital menus, anything can happen now. It's easy to change, it's easy to adapt. Look at developing a targeted mid-afternoon menu, or look at that late night menu as we continue to build some more customers and into these restaurants at different times of the day. This is where we need to capitalize on those opportunities where maybe there's not as many people walking in, and let's get creative and see if we can bring them in.
That's great. Amy?
Yeah, well, over the last 18 months, obviously, we've seen a lot of our operator partners, changing direction and finding new sources of revenue. So just sharing some of the ideas that I've seen over the last while is creating their own meal kits. So not unlike the HelloFresh or Good Foods. I've seen some of our local chains offer similar options for their signature meals out of their establishment. And even taking that one step further, partnering with retailers to sell these kits out of their HMR centers. So that's an option. It helps promote the brand, and again, it's another revenue stream. And HMR fridges at front of house. We've seen a lot of my operators gravitate towards that. So, offering prepared meals. In the beginning of the pandemic, people weren't necessarily comfortable with sourcing, delivery options. So they'd be able to go in and support their operators by taking meals home. We've actually got a really great piece of equipment from National Checking that allows operators to really present HMR options in a retail-friendly way. It's an online system. I'll just show you for those that can see. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but National Checking has a system called their Date Code Genie, and it allows an operator to create customizable stickers with their logos, their nutritionals, looking just as professional as you'd see in retail for their own establishment. So we've seen that be successful. Adding a small fridge or freezer right at the front of house tends to be more of an impulse buy, especially now that you've got people coming back into the establishment. It's a great impulse option on the way out where, they've enjoyed a meal in their establishment, but now they see they can take one home or, try another entree for dinner that week. So that's been successful for a lot of operators. Offering themed meal kits with alcohol pairings. So this was really big for a lot of my caterer accounts through the pandemic. Doing like a Spanish tapas box where it gets delivered to your house or you pick it up and it's got, everything that you need to kind of enjoy that experience at home with alcohol pairings. Mexican night, barbecue night. And another idea for the upcoming holiday season, saw this successful for a lot of them last year, and I think it still carries through this year, is offering those boxes to businesses to provide for their employees. So, I don't think holiday parties are going to be the same this year either, but, employers are still going to want to treat their employees. So a great option for that. Another area that I think is key to focus on for takeout and delivery is desserts. So it tends to be an overlooked category, but desserts are very profitable and they do really well through the Uber and Skip the Dishes. So again, don't neglect that category on your menu. We've seen one of our regional partners, he operated a ghost kitchen concept out of his storefronts, and some of his franchisees would sell enough desserts through their Uber Eats to cover their rent, just in desserts.
Really?
So yeah, absolutely. I was surprised as well. So again, not to be overlooked on your dessert category. Those are just some ideas of some unique options that I've seen different operators move to that have worked really well.
That's amazing. That's fantastic, Amy. Thank you for that. What have you been seeing, Shane?
Well, for us, obviously when the shutdown happened, we were all in a little bit of a scramble mode. So the best thing to do is just switch your menu to takeout. So we really did focus on doing takeout food, takeout retail beer. with the pandemic, we also saw a drastic increase in the amount of retail beer we were selling. People were home more, people drank more, benefited us a lot. We also set up a delivery service with Windsor and Essex for all of our beer. Once a week, we deliver throughout the county and into the city every Thursday. So as long as you get your order in by the Wednesday of that week, we'll grab you some beer. We also do province-wide shipping now as well. So we really have expanded our reach in terms of how many people can get the retail beer. We try to have an evolving list of different brands available. And we've also in town, especially during the height of the pandemic, we really focused on takeout, like I said, but we also started our own delivery service. So instead of using the Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes, we got our own little delivery car and we're able to service the Kingsville area. And that really kind of kept us afloat during the pandemic. People were very supportive of us. The residents of Kingsville were awesome in terms of supporting not just us, but pretty much all of the businesses in town. It's quite a supporting community and a very tight-knit community. So we definitely benefited from that. We offered a lot of takeout daily specials. So whether it was 2 for 1 this, or a family perch dinner on Friday, or what we did a daily special where you can buy 4 meals for X amount of dollars. So that really did help us kind of bridge the gap. And then once things start to loosen up a little bit, the town of Kingsville actually did an open streets concept for us and allowed us to put our restaurant out onto the street, especially when we weren't allowed indoor dining. So that actually helped immensely. And that was Fridays and Saturdays in 2020, and then it was Saturdays this year. And that went through the summer for both seasons. And we were able to put a lot of tables out. We had a lot of square footage, and so we were able to seat about 120 guests. And so from going from 0 to 120, that really, it obviously helped our sales, but it really boosted the morale of the staff. They were back working again. They were back seeing customers again, not just the same faces that they work with every day. So that really put a good upspin on things, and that kind of started the ball rolling in terms of getting back to normal again, whatever that means. And so that's kind of where we're at and how we've kind of adapted and increased our revenue. And like I said, the town has been extremely supportive of us and has done a great job in helping us bridge this gap here.
Yeah, they've mentioned that, we'll be exiting phase 3 pretty soon here. Do you think with your switch of your business model, will you continue with that now that you've seen it being so successful? And do you think hopefully the city will allow that outside?
So the open streets concept I don't want to speak for the town, but because it was so successful, I don't see why they wouldn't at least ponder the idea of doing it next year.
Here's hoping, because
obviously you can't do it in the winter time, but I mean, like I said, it was a great tourist attraction as well. Like you'd walk around the street and almost kind of had that Vegas Fremont street experience kind of thing, because all the restaurants, all the retail shops, they were out and everybody was having a good time. There was music in the middle of the street there, and it really it was something to see. And there's a lot of towns that actually have started doing the open street concept. I think Windsor does it, Amherstburg does it. I'm sure many other towns and cities throughout the province are also kind of adapting that concept as well.
Yeah, we did it here in Kitchener as well, and it proved to be very successful for a few of the streets that generally wouldn't have had that kind of traffic going down it. It just opened it up to pedestrians. It was quite unique, and I really enjoyed that. So hopefully they do get to continue on with that kind of a system.
Yeah, and we would set up about 15 to 20 picnic tables, so we'd bring them out every Friday and Saturday, and the setup was a lot, but I mean, like I said, it was worth it in the end, and it really provided a great ambiance for the town and for us.
That's amazing. So jump over to Graham. What have you been seeing, Graham?
It's been a hard pivot. Like it's been tough for a lot of restaurants, and so what I'm seeing. Sorry, that's a dog barking. I apologize. I'm seeing people making these kits that Amy was talking about earlier and stuff like that. So I'm seeing cocktail kits and beverage kits, so you can invite some people over, and you can have the cocktail party. It all comes in a box with the wine and stuff like that, all ready to go. I'm also seeing restaurants sending these out and doing some cooking classes around them as well, right? So they'll teach you. It's not always about food. There's also, I've seen a lot of beverage coming up, and that's helped a lot of people. I've seen, again, back to this kid idea, stuff at cottages for the weekend, because a lot of people get to the cottage on the weekend. They won't, they don't want to do groceries. So you're seeing a mix of, you can get prepared meals delivered as well as like groceries that you need. So these smaller restaurants in the local areas are really capitalizing on that and doing a good job of that. Again, partnering up with local businesses. Like I live in a small town, and there's a little restaurant that does scones and tea and stuff from Britain. Well, they've partnered up with another small grocery store, or British store, for example, and they're selling their scones in there, they're selling their tea in there. Again, trying to create some additional revenue through not that much hard work, but just working together. And I've seen, especially in the US and some in Canada, I've seen small local chains, 3 and 4 restaurants partnering up with major tour companies or airlines. There's a company out of San Francisco just partnered up with Delta. They've only got 4 restaurants, and now you can get their food on Delta Airlines. And I see it all the time. It's happened in Canada. I think it happened in Calgary with WestJet, and Colombo Deli, I think, did it. But I'm seeing more and more of that.
Those are some fantastic ideas and great directions for our customers to investigate, for sure. Let's pivot to ghost kitchens. Ghost kitchens have really seemed to have taken root in our industry. Some stats here from Data Central, which is a great site that Cisco has access to. They do some great polling of consumers. 75% of consumers would support local restaurants that go ghost to stay in business. So customers are motivated to support local restaurants during the pandemic, is what we're finding. Are they accessible to everyone, ghost kitchens, or do you need a certain kitchen setup to accomplish this business venture? Shane, any thoughts on this? Let's start with you this time.
Okay. Ghost kitchens for us, because we're in such a small town, I'm not 100% sure it would be a viable solution for us. I've definitely given it some thought. But I think because we started our takeout service and delivery option with our menu now, I don't know if it would benefit us to create 3 or 4 different concepts out of that same kitchen. I don't know if it would be feasible enough for us, because we have a very tight space to work with. I think if we were in a bigger metropolis, it would definitely prove beneficial. I think there's a lot of businesses that definitely saw their sales probably triple or even more with the ghost kitchen concept. But it is definitely something that I've thought about, but I think just for us personally, it would be difficult to kind of make 100% successful. And if you're not going to do it and give it the best effort you can, I don't think it's really ideal to operate like that.
Yeah, should be committed to it for sure.
Yeah, especially you mentioned, Shane, being in a smaller community, sometimes like having a ghost kitchen, it is pretty easy to set up, but you want to make sure that you're not poaching your community partners as well. So
we do have 30 different restaurants. Like, we're quite a culinary mecca here in Kingsville. Like, we've got a population of 30,000, but there's 30 different restaurants, whether it's pizza or even Tim Hortons counts and McDonald's. No chain restaurants. It's all independently owned businesses, which is good. And it is kind of a tourist destination. So I don't know if, like you said, you don't want to poach from the other restaurants that are doing those concepts already. So we kind of have our identity, and we kind of wanted to stick with it and really build on that and kind of push that.
That's fantastic. Sorry, Mike.
Stealing my shine. Amy and Graham, do you have any thoughts on ghost kitchens?
Yeah, we see them a lot. Like I work with them a lot. You can basically set them up anywhere. actually companies that'll deliver you a shipping container and it's a ghost kitchen, it's ready to go. You really just have to plug it in, right? You're seeing it more and more. I'm seeing customers in the middle of the COVID, like the second and third wave. I've seen a lot of ghost kitchens springing up with chicken. Everybody was doing fried chicken, and all the major players got into the chicken game and stuff like that because it seemed to sell really well during COVID. And you don't need a lot to set up a ghost kitchen. You just need to have people around you basically that are going to buy the product. Equipment, you can work with very little equipment. Really, a fryer, a grill, a microwave, and a couple of holding units is sort of all you need. So again, where I live, it's a small town, and I go on Uber and Skip to see what's new, and I see these places, and I'm like, they're not in town. But when I look at the address, it's right beside a laundromat, and there's 5 concepts coming out of that one place. It's a front. There's you can't walk in, you can't do anything, right? So, and you just really need some technology and somewhere to cook, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'll add to Graham's points there. We've seen even before the pandemic, it was definitely a growing industry, the ghost kitchens. It's obviously took off in the pandemic, but I think it's really evolving as a business for some too. I'll share, when you talk about setups, I was in a place a couple weeks back, and it was, I don't know how to describe it, but basically a big unit, and it had probably about 50 different I'll call them, I don't want to say cells, but that's basically what they were, was like a stainless steel room that had a sink set up and outlets, and people basically go in and rent that space for their ghost kitchen concept. And they're not big. I mean, some were larger than others, but you can basically be a one-man show operating however many different, I think the gentleman I was working with, he had probably about 8 different concepts, and he was working out of a very small space just himself. And at the back of the warehouse, the drivers pull up and there's a runner that basically grabs all the orders, and it was a pretty slick operation, but I just hadn't seen anything to that scale, right? I've seen people operating ghost kitchens out of their storefronts or creating their own commissaries for it, but not operating out of a place like that. So it was just, it really opened my eyes to how that whole ghost kitchen concept is growing. It's in itself for opportunities.
That's incredible. Yeah. It's a great use of space too.
Yeah, it blew my mind. It reminded me of why I did it. It felt like a prison because you walked in, it was just all these cells with these gates that went across unlocked, and I was just like, this is crazy. I honestly didn't know that kind of setup existed. So yeah, you just realized how much demand there is for it, or opportunities there is for it to set up an operation like that.
For sure. Jeanette?
Oh my gosh. I mean, what to add to that? There's just so much opportunity, and I think ghost kitchens are an example of the ingenuity that's out there. Right? This is an opportunity to use the space we already have. The lights are still on, the equipment's already on. It's not costing you more money to go out on this venture. Not only that, I mean, you take advantage of downtime. We talked about day part sales earlier. This is a perfect example of that. You've got downtime, you've got space you're not using, or you've got way more capacity perhaps than what you're taking advantage of in our current environment. This is why ghost kitchens were such a perfect evolution throughout the pandemic. They're a perfect opportunity to test a menu item. They're a perfect opportunity to add, a whole new different subset of customers that you wouldn't get in your restaurant or coming to your restaurant. Keep it simple. That's the main thing with a ghost kitchen. Streamline that menu, offer key specific items, small menus. You'll keep your labor costs in line, your food costs are in line that way, and you eliminate some of those unknowns. But I mean, it's a great idea to, be able to take advantage of that space and time that you've got. It's definitely been, obviously highly successful, and I don't see it going away.
Yeah. They're a great source for additional revenue, especially when you're not doing anything during those midday downtimes anyways.
No, exactly. And you know what? Even if it is during your peak hours, you wouldn't venture into it if you were going crazy already. And if you are amazing, that's amazing for your business. But if you've got that capacity to add something new and stick with 4 or 5 menu items, Graham's right. We actually live in the same town, and we've got a bunch of them popping up all over the place. And when you look at, from our perspective, we look at what those restaurants normally did, and then what they're trying is usually an extreme, not usually the same style. So you all of a sudden can start to appeal to a bigger audience. You still got the skills. It's not costing you anything to do it. It's just getting creative.
Those are some great points, everyone. I've got another question that I'm hoping you can all give us a little more insight on. What are some ways to market your business's brand to capture the largest audience possible? Because we know about 48% of our industry has changed how they market and promote themselves now since COVID began. And about 53% of them also think marketing and promotions are more important than ever right now. And I fully agree with that. Graham, Amy, thoughts?
Sure. For me, there's only really one thing here. It's all about social media. Like right now, that's the king. And you see these restaurants that are really hole in the walls, and they have got people who are active on social media, and they're promoting the brand, and they just blow up, right? Everybody wants it, right? So, and again, I see that so much with smaller brands who are very intuitive, intelligent, knowing who their demographic is, and really going over that social media and getting platforms that work for them, because this technology part is what's going to build restaurants going forward. It's not, someone in the restaurant taking a picture and say, you got to go here. They just get busy, right? So for me, you have to have people who are running your social media, who are foodies, but also smart in business to put things up that are going to draw people in. So yeah, that's what it's about for me. Amy?
Yeah, no, to that point again, another point that we had here was partnering with other channels that are going to complement your brand. So the goal being to elevate your brand and not, devalue it. And yeah, to Graham's point, social media is where it's at, right? Everything is so instant. And I know myself, I go through my feeds, I see, restaurants being featured or products being featured. The first thing I do is look, okay, where is that? And, look for the opportunity to try it when I'm in the city next. I mean, we don't have, where I live, access to the Uber Eats and the deliveries, but again, it's that, putting the idea out there, and it's in areas like the city and with the younger demographics, everything is about that instant gratification with them, right? So to Graham's point, they're all so engaged on the social media side of things, and that's where they get their information and where they're drawn to. So definitely.
I have teenagers, and they'll come to me and say, I saw this on Instagram, can we go here?
Yeah.
And so it used to be the parents that would drive where you're going to eat. It's a lot of times it's not anymore. Like I want to go to Toronto and I want to look at this. I saw it on Instagram.
Yeah. And I mean, that generation is also, I think, the driver or, one of the biggest users of all the third-party apps. I mean, that's not my generation, but again, I hear stories of, Graham, one of them, and others that I work with, the amount of activity and business that they are sourcing through Uber Eats, it blows my mind, but that's the reality. So again, social media is such a driver to that. So.
Fantastic. So, I mean, you shouldn't be worried about trying to get into social media then, like starting at an Instagram page, stuff like that. It's not going to, blow my mind trying to get involved, right? Like it's a pretty simple process for people to get involved in. And everyone has a cell phone these days.
Yeah, just put good pictures of your food, what your brand's about, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's free.
I love that.
And a lot of times the guests will actually take pictures of the food themselves, and then they'll kind of hashtag where you're at. So for us, it's obviously at Grove Brew. So go on Instagram and give us a follow. But yeah, they'll take pictures of the food and it kind of pops up on our feed there. So it's another avenue to kind of market ourselves, and we obviously trying to make food that is very picture worthy. It's also kind of key for us. That never used to, people always used to say you eat with your eyes. It's very true now, especially in the social media world, because there are a lot of people that just take pictures of the food or the drink and they'll repost it, and that does benefits for us as well.
Yeah.
Some restaurants are built on that. They really are. Like they don't have any. They have no other marketing presence. It's all on social media, and they're doing well, right? So.
I would say it's even more important than it's obviously you have to have a website, but I know me personally, I go to a website and the first thing I do is I look for their Instagram feed so that I can go and actually see, what the entrees look like, because you don't really get that through a website, right? So you've just got more access to advertise in more creative and better ways.
And you control your own brand. You have full control of your marketing, how it looks, stuff like that. That's something that I think is really important too.
So when somebody has their business's Instagram feed, can like all employees participate for them, or do you usually have just like one person looking after it and they are the only people adding content, or do you feel like having everybody being able to, like, within your employee setting?
It depends how you set it up.
Yeah.
Definitely, right? Yeah, you can give access to, as long as they know the password. Like for McCormack Bourrie, I do our Instagram feed and our LinkedIn feed, but somebody else does it as well. But if I'm doing food, I'm always putting it on there.
Okay.
And we have a dedicated guy that kind of does the marketing strategy for us. So I have access to it, but I don't. He does all the pictures. He monitors it. He'll update it. So we don't want all the staff to kind of do that because it'll just get overwhelmed. And we have an image that we're trying to uphold as well. So he's very professional at it. And we want to make sure that the stuff that he does is what kind of goes out there, and his brand and his mind kind of works in great ways for us. So
that's a great point, Sean. Jeanette?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, that's the key. I mean, Shane's hit it on the head in terms of making sure it's managed appropriately, right? We don't want to have the whole world in there and controlling it, especially because it can go sideways on us as well. That's the other side of, right, the social media piece of it, is we want to make sure that we keep it heading in the right direction. Outside of that social media piece, Amy mentioned it earlier, and it's those impulse buys, right, that are happening in our restaurants all over the place. So one of the things that we've looked at and seen great success in is bottling those prize recipes. Bottle that sauce, whether it's a spice, a sauce, maybe it's your signature recipe, that dip or that entree, that make it at home kit. It needs to be branded. Branded as your own. Make sure that your restaurant is the only place they can get that, because that's going to get those return sales. Whether it's in that meal kit or whether it's that bottle of signature barbecue sauce as an example, it's going to make it your own. And it's one more way throughout all of this that we never would have gone before, or certainly not yet. And it wasn't done by a multitude of restaurants. It was done by major players, but that's it. And you'd be very surprised that it doesn't take a lot of volume to get into doing your own signature something, and being able to sell that on the more retail side for sure. And it's going to add a whole new revenue stream that you didn't even know could be successful.
I'll jump in to that, Jeanette, and just again reiterate, what you're talking about. It's not hard to execute either if you find the right pieces. Back to what I was referencing before with the national checking, I actually had a number of operating partners. They've sourced that equipment to do just what you're describing, right? So you don't have to make a huge investment in proper labels, and I also sell the printed labels, and they're quite large to commit to branded or custom products. So this date code Genie, it's an online portal where you can go and you can create all of your menu items, all of your stickers, your nutritional labels, your barcode scanners, your own logoed sticker. So it allows the operator to create all of that from scratch, customizable, without making a huge commitment on the stickers. You can, once you create it, you can print out 10 stickers at a time, sort of thing. So again, when we had customers that were looking to branch out into that, whether it be their own custom, sauces, spices, or meals, they really found a lot of value in that equipment, and it's not a huge investment. So again, just, doesn't have to be intimidating to how will you get into it, right? There's a lot of easy pieces out there that can help you get into it at a low investment.
Yeah. Absolutely. I say it's not as difficult as it may seem. It's not as daunting as it may seem.
Right.
And it's all about finding the right partners and all the pieces that you need in order to make that happen. And it creates a bit of a legacy in the process.
Jeanette, what kind of volume is required for custom?
Isn't that's the $1 million question. And what's when you get into it, I wish I had this simple little mark, right? As I get to this level. It really depends how you want to do it. It depends on how you want to package it. It depends on what it is and what ingredients we're looking at. But it really, what I can say confidently, and we deal with a few different players at Magnum Food Brokers that do this for restaurants all over the place, and it's not as much as you think. It's typically small batch, and we can create something. So really, what I would say to you is reach out, ask the question. We have this perception that it's a truckload full of product. It's not at all, and we can work with you depending upon how you want to bottle it, how big it is. Is it a retail size? Is it a larger size? Is it that meal? Whatever it is, we can work with you and figure it out.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and if you go online, there's also, it's under the heading co-packing for the most part. If you're looking for those smaller bottling plants, you want to look up co-packing, and there's quite a few in our region that are available to us, actually.
And I would say, Kyle, all of any customers watching, any Sysco customer, reach out to your Sysco rep, because they can also direct you to those players that are partnered with Sysco. Right? We've already got some existing great relationships that you can bank on that partnership. And then, and if I can't help somebody, I usually have suggestions on where they could try next as well.
That's fantastic, Jeanette. Thanks.
We're hearing some great ideas that would be pretty attainable for most to implement, it sounds like. How important is packaging with regards to some of these new revenue streams? Amy?
As a broker, I represent several packaging lines, and I, unbiasedly, I will say I think packaging is extremely important. And I mean, a lot of what we've talked about already today, for those pieces to be successful, I think packaging plays a big part in a lot of those. I think through the pandemic, you've gotten a lot of people who maybe didn't source delivery and takeout options a lot that were kind of forced to. Those were their only options for a break from cooking. And I think expectations have evolved a lot. People expect an equally good off-premise experience as to what they would get on-premise. So as an operator, the goal should really be to get your packaging solutions to replicate the on-premise experience as close as possible. I think there's got to be focus on providing a quality experience, a quality product to customers that isn't going to leave your consumer questioning, okay, well, I've just spent $100 here. Could I have done that better at home? Now that there's more comfort level in people's kitchen, right? So people before that weren't comfortable experimenting in their kitchens or cooking, they're kind of forced to become more so through the pandemic. And, you want to give people an experience that they can't replicate themselves, that they still feel is unique and is good value. And again, packaging is a huge piece of that. The key is also making sure you find the right packaging for your application. So, I represent Sabre Packaging. We've got a full variety of products, whether it's cold applications, hot applications, the HMR container that I showed you before, which is an ovenable product, so microwavable or ovenable, and understanding that there's certain applications that, require specific things like a vented lid, right? If you have something that creates a lot of steam, you need to be sensitive to, okay, how are you going to package that in a way that reduces the moisture? We've actually got a great line, like I said, within the Sabre product with vented lids, tight locks, that transport really well, have provided to be excellent in the delivery process. We're actually in the process of launching a new line called Saver Pack into the Canadian market, and I'd say within the next few months, Graham. I believe that's when we're going to be ready to launch, and we believe that this is going to be revolutionary in the packaging space. The product itself is, Graham can probably better describe it, but it's like a little freezer pack. So it's frozen and it sticks to the top of your container with the goal that it actually takes in all the moisture. So for items that are more moisture sensitive, like a nacho, fish and chips, I mean, those tend to be the applications where people are always most challenged in what can I put these in, right? Not just because of the size and the moisture, how it affects the end product. This type of product, the Saver Pack, is going to be, we think, really huge in providing a way better delivery takeout solution for those type of products.
I think it'll be revolutionary. I don't think there's anything out there like it, and it's biodegradable. You can throw it into the garbage under your sink with your food. It's brand new. I haven't played with it yet. I've just watched a lot of videos on it, and it's one of those things that comes along and you go, wow, is it really that good? So I'm excited to play with it because it will, I think it'll change takeout and delivery forever.
No more soggy fries. That would be amazing.
That's always the trick.
And I think the other thing to remember with the takeout packaging, and for me, is when the guest gets it, they don't think about how Uber or Skip or whoever delivered it. They think you just didn't do a good job if it's not good, right?
Yeah.
So that's the struggle in today's environment is, and that's why, Shane, you probably did your own delivery service. I work with a couple of other customers that have their own delivery service because they want to control the total experience, right? Because technically you lose control of that experience once that leaves your building with a third-party vendor.
Yeah, and to Graham's point, at the end of the day, the customer, it's never going to be reflective of the delivery service. Their impression left is going to be that of the establishment, unfortunately. Another key piece to look at or think of for your takeout and delivery packaging solutions is providing a reassurance of food safety. So we've all heard kind of horror stories of third-party delivery drivers snacking on your bill. And so, there's a lot of products that have come into the market that allow for that one extra step in providing that reassurance. And again, going back to national checking, they've created a line of tamper-proof stickers. So again, a really easy, cost-effective step that you can take. Again, I don't know if you can see this, but this is just a sticker that goes either over your packaging, on the lid, or on your takeout bags. It's tamper-proof. You can't see it closely, but it's got, I don't know what you call them, like recessions in the sticker that would break if it's been tampered with. So, I mean, if it shows up to your door and the sticker's broke, you know that it's been played around with. So you've got that added security. These can also be branded and are available in different sizes. We've got tamper-proof plastic bags as well from another vendor that we represent. So it's a plastic takeout bag, fits quite a good size container, which again is always a challenge with the larger paper bags. And it's got a tamper-proof strip at the top. So it's a perforated under the strip, you rip it off. And again, just that added extra layer of security that your product has remained untouched and non-tampered with through the process. And another piece to think of too when you're selecting your packaging, I mean, thankfully, a lot of people have already moved to, more environmentally friendly options. We don't see nearly as much styrofoam as we have in the market. People are more sensitive to the fact of what's even allowed to be recyclable, right? So understanding what is recyclable in your municipalities, like whether black plastic is or not. Black plastic is actually not recyclable in a lot. So we have fully clear polypropylene, so that's microwavable, heat appropriate packaging now that is fully recyclable, and going that extra step to providing a compostable solution. So again, I have a great collection of two-piece solutions with a proper lid, bottoms, in our green line with Sabert. They are microwavable, even ovenable, believe it or not. And even if your customers don't fully understand what's necessary for composting, it's still better for the environment. It still looks like, leaves the impression that you're being more responsible and makes them feel like they're being more responsible. So that's also an important piece to look at. And ultimately, at the end of the day, 2/3 of consumers admit that, outside of, pandemic restrictions, they're still going to prefer delivery and takeout. They may have been more comfortable with it now, or they've got more exposure to it. So that's going to continue. I don't think that we're going to see, a dramatic drop off of that piece of business once we're outside of the pandemic. Will it change slightly? Sure, but I think it's still going to be very relevant revenue stream for operators and remain a really good growth opportunity. And doing it right is key to being successful in that arena. So again, a lot of great solutions in our portfolio. So I'm happy to help. I actually love selling packaging, which I think is rare, but happy to help with any of that where I can. So.
Oh my gosh, Amy. I just have to comment, gone are the days in my restaurant days we used to make tinfoil ducks at the table. I mean, that was takeout, right? That was takeout, was this what, and we'd wander through the dining room with this long piece of tinfoil flying through the air, right?
Yeah.
Gone are those days. And I mean, we have to remember that the younger generation right now is way more environmentally friendly. Mm-hmm. than and focused on environmentally friendly than we ever were, and maybe shame on us, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's the audience. And so that packaging can't be a second thought. It's got to be as important as the rest of it to make sure it makes it home, and it sends the right message.
Yeah, 100%.
To that,
it is your brand. It ends up being your brand, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, people remember it. Like I again, I speak to my own experiences when I get something and they've really taken out, I maybe appreciate it a little more than others, but when they've taken the time to really present it well and in a way that we can bring home and execute like very close to presentation that we would get on site, it goes a long way, right? It makes you like look forward to your next experience, as opposed to thinking, you know what, that wasn't awesome, and I'll try something different next time to see if it's better. So,
and keep in mind too that we can also help supply the products that are going to last better in those containers. Mm-hmm. Right? If we know that 60% of your business is takeout, then let us help you with those items that are going to last better.
Exactly.
Right? They're going to stand up to that environment. And they're going to look great on the plate in the dining room, but they're going to stand up in the takeout 20-ish minutes later by the time it makes it to you.
Yeah, that's really important, because not everything translates, right? That well. So maybe it just isn't on your takeout menu. You'd rather not have it than do it poorly and have it be a bad experience.
It's a great point. And then just back to the green initiatives, I have some stats to back it up, which I love my stats. Data Essential did a survey and what customers are most satisfied with in terms of packaging, and 76% of consumers are satisfied with natural fiber containers, 73% satisfied with paper cartons, and compare that to 62% satisfied with styrofoam. And I know even in my own personal life, if I'm getting takeout and I see it's in a styrofoam container, I immediately think this is not going to be the best eating experience for this product, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I don't want to say devalues, but it does. When you see something in styrofoam, you go, oh, like it doesn't have the same effect, right? So.
Oh, that's perfect. I got one final question. This is kind of a last addition for me because Mike brought it to my attention. And I think it's a really unique one. Have you guys seen, and what are your thoughts on subscription models for restaurants? I know like Panera does it for like just under $9 a month that allows unlimited hot and iced coffee. I think 1 in 10 consumers actually subscribe to a monthly restaurant program right now. So have you guys seen or heard of this before?
Yeah,
I mean, oh, we're all gonna go. Amy?
Yeah. No, I was
Floor's
just
open
gonna
now.
say, yes,
Floor's
I have.
open.
I've seen downtown Toronto, there's a pizza operator. And I don't know sort of what percentage of that is now, but in kind of the core shutdown, they fully transitioned to a subscription service where you get a box with your certain number of backpack pizzas and, not the same quality pizza from regular takeout, like, more like oven, like, specialty style pizzas. And they've taken it one step further now, and like their packaging, they've stepped up their packaging and the whole way it delivers. So they've really evolved in that process too. So I'd have to assume it's done well for them.
I think there's a lot of breweries that do that as well, especially with in-dining. You have a lot of breweries offer mug clubs, so they'll pay X amount at the beginning of the year, and they get various rewards and discounts throughout the year, whether it's on merchandise, whether it's on a happy hour pricing for a pint or 2-for-1 appetizers. You're also starting to see a lot of breweries go into a subscription delivery box, kind of. So again, you pay X amount at the beginning of the year, and you're going to get a 6-pack delivered to your door every month. And it's something that we've definitely put some thought into, and we're probably going to definitely look at. And it also makes it a great Christmas gift. It's kind of like a Netflix for beer, basically. Mm-hmm. So you get that 6-pack or 12-pack or whatever you want to subscribe to delivered to your house once a month, and you don't think about it; it just shows up.
I love it. Netflix for beer.
I see the subscription services a lot in the US. It hasn't fully taken off in Canada yet. There's a small amount of people but if you go to different states in the US, you'll be bombarded by how many different wine, beer, coffee, pizza, sandwiches they will deliver. They're really getting into that. They've figured out it is a revenue stream that's not tapped into in Canada yet.
That's absolutely it. It's on restaurateurs' opportunity to create a dedicated audience that you wouldn't have had either, right? So think about it from that operator's perspective. You're creating a database of customers that you're going to communicate with more regularly that you wouldn't have necessarily had access to before at a nominal fee. That fee is going to bring them back regularly to get the value out of what they've spent. And it's your opportunity to get unique things in their hands. Maybe it's that featured recipe or specialty beer or whatever it might be. I mean, it's an amazing marketing opportunity to, to fully take advantage of this very online world we live in, right? Social media driven. And it's definitely going to be something that I think we'll see more and more of. It's the evolution of the points program.
And I think it plays off the loyalty programs that a lot of restaurants already do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. It's that next level because now there's a fee, right? And that fee generates income, which is the whole point of, our whole conversation today. It's one more way.
It keeps you front of mind with the consumers, right? So their 6-pack from Grove pops in the mail, and then they think, well, I better go down and try the new pizza or whatever that you got going on, right?
It also lets you control your own destiny because you own the customer, you own the guest, right? A third party doesn't, right? And controlling that part of it, I think as we come out of this, I think that'll become much more evident for restaurateurs, brewers, everything that they want to control because right now, Uber and Skip control a lot of the guests. They really do, whether we want to admit that or not, right? But I think restaurateurs and people want to get that back so they control their own destiny.
And that's 20% that they control. Like that's what they're taking.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this has been an absolutely fantastic conversation for me. I've definitely got some great information from you guys. Jeanette, Graham, Amy, I really, really want to thank you very much for being on the show today. Shane, a special thanks to you for taking some time out of your busy day to be on here. Really, really appreciate all your insights. Of course, my co-host Mike, thank you again for being part of this and helping me through this. And I'd like to thank all of our attendees today for joining us. And remember, keep business resources in mind. If you have any questions, please reach out to your regional business resource team. All right, guys, I'm going to give you back 5 minutes of your day.
Perfect.
All right, till next
Thanks.
time.
Thanks.
Thanks.
So much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.